Much for joining us today. We have one of the authors of the Game Changer book. We have Shauna Marie MacDonald. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So the authors of the books, we're doing some interviews so our readers can get to know you a little bit better. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Not at all. Please. Thank
All right.
you.
So first of all, share with us what you do and a little bit more about you.
Okay, well, my name again is Shauna Marie, and I work with patients and their families and caregivers of cancer. And it came about after my ex-husband was diagnosed with cancer, and we were spending some time together near the end talking about our kids and our family, and he said that cancer gave more than it took. And it was so profound to actually say this, because at that point he knew he was dying. And so it led me on this path of working with cancer patients and their families. I'm an interior decorator, and what it ended up being is that designing a life, not a house. Now it's designing a life. It's very similar, actually, because we take what we have to work with, we add some extra components, and we make it beautiful and comfortable and worthy of who we are. I don't want to try and design my life to look like yours or anyone else's out there. The same with a home. So with cancer families, they often feel that their lives are completely stored up into this person who has an illness. And it's not the case. They are separate. And so I want to help them feel that they have their own life to live, and they can still support who they love, and whoever that might be, whether it's a family member, someone at work, anyone. Like in my case, it was someone who I was no longer married to because it was my ex-husband. So there's always ways to support those who are in our lives. And
Right.
That's what I'm passionate about.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's such a needed thing because, first of all, cancer is very common, which is sad, but so many families that are affected by cancer often, don't know the first thing to do, never mind how to come together and, get through it. So that's an amazing, I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
So why did you think it was important to be one of the authors in the Game Changer book?
Well, similar to someone with cancer, there's something that changes in your life. It's a paradigm shift. And for some, it's getting cancer or their family member. For others, it's another big change in your life. And for me, that came when I was quite young, actually. I was just had my second child, and my father came to visit, and he was acting so strange and not paying attention to this baby. The most important to me thing in my life that day was that my father meet my child. And he made several steps, and he took several steps and didn't meet her. And so he left my home, and I was so angry with him. I was like throwing my hat in the air and saying, you're crazy. There's something wrong with you. I was using every word. I was quite angry with him. And then what I didn't realize is he was coming to say goodbye. And he couldn't look at that baby and my older daughter. He just came and he just wanted to see me, see my eyes, and come say goodbye. Of course, we don't know that at the time. And
Right.
So then a few days later, he took his own life. Or that's when they found him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a big shift for me. And it's so similar to any big thing in your life. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to get angry and let that anger and toxicity take you down? Because it will. Your body will respond to what's going on in your mind. And for me, I was angry and I didn't want to talk about it, and I was guilty. And so it took 10 years before I ever even talked about the fact that my father committed suicide.
Yeah.
And suicide and cancer, it's like the big C and the big S. Let's not talk about it. We're afraid. The society says they're terrible to have. And people wouldn't talk to me because I was the child of suicide. And the people I've interviewed, many cancer patients, have said, as soon as they say cancer, this person turns around and walks away. They say, oh, I'm so sorry. And they turn around because they make it about them.
Yep.
I understand that,
Right.
but it doesn't make the patient feel valued, honored. They're just, oh, this must be wrong. It must be bad. It must be worse than I thought, because that's the reaction. And that's not right. It's not fair. And it doesn't help any of us heal when we run away from those big moments in our lives.
Yeah, it can be very awkward because you don't know what to say, but that's where we need that awareness out there so we can value these people that are going through this and support them instead of making them feel worse.
Yes. And even when you say the wrong thing, if you can learn how to, whether it's the family member or the patient, to say, that really hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest, if this comes up again, you can try saying this, just so that your voice can be heard. You don't get hurt or shut down and then let that ruin the rest of your day, week. Yeah.
Absolutely. So share with us something that's either in your chapter and go a little deeper, or share with us something that's not in your chapter that we would love to know.
Well, when I was growing up, he had this way about him that he would just get close to being what I thought I wanted. Was this man who just thought I was the greatest kid in the world, and then he would stop short. And so I never understood what that was all about. And what life has taught me is it's our big fears. We walk up to our fears because we know intellectually that we should get closer to them. And then as soon as they become real, we stop short, run away, or we dive into them with anger and inappropriate language. We get and become something that we never even knew existed within us. There are times I'm not one who gets angry. It's just not a big part of me. But I think that's a part of my father's training. And so for me, I come up to anger or something in my life, and I just shut down. And so through writing this chapter, I learned that, okay, there's something going on. There's a tape running in the back of my head. And if I can listen to it, diagnose it, so to speak, then everything else in my system, my immunity gets better, my brain function, everything works with a greater clarity. Even the way I walk and the flow of me is better when I'm dealing with the things that scare me the most. Yeah. And of course, illness scares all of us. And, well, maybe not all of us, but yeah, it brings us to a new place. And so that's what I learned from writing this chapter, is that it still functions and works with what I do, probably more so than I ever realized.
Yeah, that's powerful. So what would you say your biggest takeaway of your biggest message is for your chapter?
That no matter what you're afraid of, someone else has been through it, and there's a way for you to get through it. Might not be the first way that you try, might be the second, third, or fourth, but there's a way to walk through it. And it doesn't have to be taking a pill or getting a shot or going to the hospital or seeing a therapist. It could be something as simple as what you've not thought of.
Right.
I mean, it sounds funny. It's as simple as what you've not thought of, but there's a way to get you through it, and it could be quite painless.
For sure.
Mm.
I have just helping hear authors' stories and put them into um, published books, and then you learn so many techniques and different things that have helped people along the way. And
Mm-hmm.
it's exactly what you're saying. It can be the simplest things, changing your mindset or just having a different view about it, or dealing with that problem instead of
Mm-hmm.
sweeping it under the carpet.
Right.
Um,
Or even pushing through, and or having someone like what you're doing with your work. You help people, you soften what feels like a blow that's too big, and then you just hold their hand and walk them through it with a gentle grace, and that's who you are. So finding that person that works with you and makes you feel, okay, I can do this. I need one word of positivity today, or I need you to smack me upside the head because that's what I need today. And it might be a little different depending what's going on.
yep,
But that's what it means when you find that person that can hold your hand and take you through.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So for the people reading this chapter, what would you like them to take away? What's the one thing, the most important thing you'd like them to walk away with?
Most important thing would be that no matter what the challenge that you are facing, A, you're not alone, and B, there's someone that will love you through it,
Mhm.
and it'll be okay. In the
Absolutely.
end, whatever the end might be, it might be tomorrow, it might be 3 years from now, but you will get through this one.
Great. So if someone wanted to know more about you, to follow you, or to even work with you, how would they contact you? What's the best way?
Maybe the quickest way is on my website, so it's www.shaunamarie.ca.
And can you spell your name, because I know it's spelled a little different?
It is. It's Shaunamarie.ca.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking your time today, and
Thank you.
congratulations on being one of the authors of The Game Changer. I cannot wait until this book comes out and touches many lives.
It is such a pleasure, and it's so lovely to work with both of you. True professionals.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right.